All right. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Dolly Estrada, and I am the president of Auto BTC Builder. Tonight's webinar is part 2 of Prospecting 101, 21 more low-cost and no-cost ways to generate leads and sales for your home business. So again, my name is Dolly Estrada. I'm the president of ABB, and I just want to welcome you on behalf of the company and myself and our founder and CEO, Mr. Gregory Aggesen. We're so glad to have you here tonight with us. Again, just a couple things before we begin, just like part 1. So this list is just a springboard. It's not a deep dive into any one particular method of lead generation. That means that if you see something on this list that might interest you, we're not going to go into depth on it, but you can find really great free information on any of these methods just by doing a little bit of research online. This is just meant to get your creative juices flowing and to get you some ideas of how you could be generating some leads for your home business. And then also you should keep in mind that no method in the world is a substitute for knowing your product, knowing your customer, and being a generally good human being. That means that if you're barking up the wrong tree, if you're trying to approach people with an opportunity that's not a good fit for them, that's not going to help, right? If you're trying to approach people but you don't really know what you have because you're not familiar with the compensation plan, for example, or you're not familiar with the products, and they're going to ask you a follow-up question and you're not going to know the answer, that's not going to help either, right? And also, if you're doing business the right way, then this can be a really amazing way to get your business off the ground. If you're not interested in doing business the right way, then yeah, this isn't going to help, right? So if you're just trying to make some fast, easy money at somebody else's expense, then this isn't the webinar for you, certainly. And also, my last point is that you have to find what works for you and what fits your personality and your product. So not everything in the list is going to be your cup of tea, and that is okay. That means that there's going to be things on this list that you're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, I don't see myself ever doing that. Maybe you're not a technical person, or maybe some of these things will seem a little bit old school to you, and that's fine. I wanted to make sure that I included something for everybody. And so you'll definitely find something on this list that could be a really good solution for you and your business. So I'm going to jump forward here into content management system. You definitely want to have a content management system of some sort. It doesn't matter if you're collecting all the leads in the world, if you don't have them organized in some kind of a contact management system, it's not going to be helpful to you in any way. So you're not going to be able to find what you need. So to really get the most juice out of this, you should have a contact management system. You can use an online one, a digital one, like something like HubSpot, which has a free version that's really robust and awesome. Or if you're an old school pen and paper kind of person, sometimes I am as well. Maybe you just want to have an address book that you use, or just a notebook, or index cards, file folders, whatever works for you. But you should have a system, and you should have a way to update it and keep it. It should be a living document for you. So that it can serve you. Your personal network is probably your most valuable asset that you'll ever have, and it can be the well that you can go to over and over again in business throughout your life, as long as you keep it up to date and keep adding people to it. So I'm going to jump forward here into part 2. Yesterday we covered Facebook prospecting, offline lead generation methods, and content creation lead generation methods. Today we're going to be looking at some more here, so let's jump in right here. So today we're gonna kick it off with some more social media leads. So we already covered Facebook. We want to talk about some other ways to get leads from social media. So you want to pick 2 or 3 platforms to focus on and master them. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. Sometimes people that may be new to network marketing say, well, I'm just going to join everything. Right? I'm going to set up a Twitter and a Pinterest and an Instagram. I'm just going to set up everything, and I'm going to post everything every day for the rest of my life. And a week later, they're not posting anything because it's too overwhelming. So pick 2 or 3 platforms to focus on, and then just learn everything that you can about those platforms. Choose platforms that you enjoy when possible, right? So platforms that are good fit for you. If you're not an image creative type of person, if you hate photographs and you're not image centric like that, then you're probably not going to love Instagram. And if you find Twitter very constricting because you like to write more, then you're probably not going to love Twitter. So find something that's a good fit for you, that you enjoy and you kind of find is entertaining, and that you kind of feel like you are natural at. Those are the platforms that you want to stick with. So think about which platform your target customer also is likely to choose. So for example, if I'm like when I did prospecting as a stay-at-home, as a work-at-home mom, I would focus on other work-at-home moms, right? Because I automatically had things in common with them. And so I would choose platforms where other work-at-home moms were likely to hang out. One of my best platforms was Pinterest at the time. So Pinterest was a great place for me to connect with other work-at-home moms and create those connections. Twitter was as well. So, but you want to think about, okay, so who is my target customer, right? And it's usually somebody that's like you, because if you're in the opportunity, think about why you got into it, and think about other people that are like you. And those are probably going to be your easiest leads to get, people that have things in common with you, right? And then think about, where are they hanging out online? What platform are they most likely to use, right? And then you want to fill out all their profiles as you create your platforms. So you're going to pick 2 or 3 tops, and then you're going to fill out your profiles, and then you're going to link them together, right? So make sure that if they're following you on Facebook, that your Twitter's linked so they can also follow you on Facebook. You want them to be able to follow you all the places where you are and everywhere you may have content. Okay. Alrighty. So just a little bit. I think somebody has some background noise. If you could mute out your mics, that'd be much appreciated. Just make sure it's not music. Okay. Oh, not sure who has the background noise there. Sorry, guys. Anyways, okay. So we're moving on to Twitter. So in Twitter, space is limited. So the goal is to get them to your funnel. There's not a whole lot you can say in the amount of characters that you're allowed to have a tweet. It's not going to have long conversations. You won't be able to explain the whole opportunity in tweets, certainly. So the goal is to interact with people, make friends, and bring them into your funnel, right? So you want to use local hashtags to join local conversations and find local prospects. So if you look on the sidebar on Twitter, there are trending hashtags for your area. So try to get in on those conversations. Start a conversation with people, or join a conversation that's already in progress, and just make some friends. Have something to say. If you have something to say about a topic that's being discussed, then jump right in and just start responding to people's comments. Just join the conversation. People will follow you, and then you can follow them back. And that's ways that you can get connected. And then if they like your content and the things that you're tweeting, then they'll check out your profile. And in your profile, obviously, you want to have a link back to your sales funnel. So images get good engagement on Twitter as well, because it's very text heavy. So if you have any talent for images, or if you have even just a knack for finding interesting images and retweeting them, then you can get a lot of engagement that way. So just make sure that you have your profile completely filled out, and again, you want to have it linked to your other social media platforms, and you want to have it linked to your sales funnel, because everything should be leading back to that sales funnel. Moving forward here. Oops. There we go. Okay, so Pinterest. Again, this was one of my big boons for the teams that I built. So it's great for targeting stay-at-home moms. Like I said, it's most effective if you can create your own images, but not necessarily. Also, if you engage on other people's images and posts, that can be a very effective way to lead them back to your profile, which again is going to have a link to your sales funnel. So it's also effective if you have a blog or a website to link back from, but you can link your images back to your Facebook too, or to your funnel. So then make sure that if you're posting images, they should have a link. Every image that you post should have a link, because again, you want to get the most juice out of the content that you're creating and posting. Moving forward, Google Plus. Google Plus is about joining conversations and connecting with people. It's a little bit of a different crowd. It's more current events technology, which can be great for cryptocurrency. It tends to be a younger, more tech-savvy crowd on Google Plus. You want to keep it local from the most leads and join some local groups. There's a lot of local business groups on Google Plus, and you can also use hashtag on Google Plus if you didn't know that. So make sure that you check that out. You can use hashtags like cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, things like that, and find other people in your area that may be interested in those. LinkedIn. So make sure that you just fill everything out on LinkedIn, really seriously, because people may be searching for you, right? LinkedIn is basically a catalyst for anybody that might have something in common with you, right? So anybody that went to the same school as you, anybody that worked at the same place that you did, your interests, your abilities, all of those different things, you want to fill out your entire LinkedIn profile, right? So anybody that's looking for people like you can find you easily. Make sure you include all your links to your social media, and also to to your sales funnel. Everybody should have a LinkedIn regardless. Even if this isn't one of your platforms that you want to do, I recommend everybody has their LinkedIn up to date and fully filled out, because it's just a very easy way to connect with people. And it's pretty much very passive, unless you want to actually be active on it. If you want to be active, then you can answer questions as an expert. You can post content like blogs and articles and things like that. You can join groups on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of social options as well. But bare minimum, you should have your LinkedIn profile filled out. That's a tip for everybody. And then you can also recommend others and ask others to recommend you, which gives you more visibility and more exposure to other people that may be in their circles. So forward, Instagram. Instagram tends to be a younger crowd. It's a creative crowd. It's a very visual medium. It's all about images. So you want to post often, follow often. Don't be a spammer. Be genuine and have something to contribute. Use hot hashtags whenever possible. Instagram is all about the hashtags. So it's not as local centric as Twitter is. It's more of an online community. But there are local communities on Instagram too. And again, I always favor local, because I think that if you're in the local area of somebody, there's nothing like shaking somebody's hand to add that extra layer of trust to meet somebody in person. I think it's just very helpful. So if you learn to link images effectively, again, this is the same thing about Pinterest, is that you want to make sure that everything you're posting has some kind of a link back to someplace that benefits you, even if that's just, hey, follow me on Facebook, or hey, follow me in this other place, right? It doesn't always have to be your sales funnel. And in fact, it shouldn't be always your sales funnel. You want to make sure that you switched up so that you're not just spamming people, because nobody likes that. Nobody wants to follow that account that's just spamming the fire out of their followers all the time. So you want to make sure that you're delivering on the content, but that you're also, slipping your links in there too. Make sure that you're always making it profitable, always linking back. So leads from around the web. So this is other places around the internet where you can get leads from. So Craigslist, and this one is still underutilized in network marketing these days. You can put, for example, if you're having an at-home meeting, right? I used to like to have an open at-home meeting every Tuesday afternoon, right? So I have an open at-home meeting. I can put that on my local Craigslist as a job opportunity. There's also lots of different categories that you may be able to fit into. So there's educational categories and things like that, especially for the ABB opportunity, which is crypto education. You can also make sure you switch up your ads. You're not spamming the same ad over and over again. That's a very easy way to get ghosted. And Craigslist is famous for ghosting people, which means that you'll see your ad and you'll think that it's live, but you're the only one that can see it. So it's kind of tricky like that. Make sure that you add a photo. People are more likely to click on ads that have photos, and keep it local, or you will get in trouble. Craigslist has an amazing algorithm to be able to catch people that are trying to work outside of their local area. If you try to get outside of your local area, just be prepared that your account could be banned. So I just ask people, I just always advise people to keep it local and not risk it. It's especially good for meetings, again, as I mentioned. So moving forward, other online classifieds, depending on where you live, there may be a classified site that's even hotter than Craigslist, or other classified sites that are just as hot, right? So don't pay for online classifieds until you see if there's any free ones in your local area that are really hot and popular. And that would be my first tip. And then you want to be able to track where your leads are coming from. So if you're using, for example, I know in Dallas-Fort Worth, Backpage is huge, right? So Dallas-Fort Worth, Backpage is huge. So I would write something in my Backpage ad that when somebody gets in touch with me, I can find out, you know what I mean? I can find out that they got in touch with me in that area. And that may mean setting up a special email address, right, that only gets the Backpage leads, and then forwarding that to my regular email address. That way I can track them. Or it may need using the link shorteners. If you guys are familiar with the Google link shorteners, you're able to track clicks like that. But it's important to see which of these are working. So if I put out 10 ads on 10 different sites for an at-home meeting that I'm getting, I want to know where my people are coming from. And that may be just as easy as just asking people, hey, where did you hear about us? When they call. And you can do that too. That works just as well. So, and then also leads versus effort and expense for every lead generation method. So if you are tracking, and this is the reason why it's important to track. So let's say that I'm posting on Backpage every week, right? I'm taking that however many minutes that is every week to post this ad. And 3 months later, I haven't ever gotten a lead from it. It's probably not worth my time, right? And that goes for any lead generation method, right? is that you want to test it, give it enough time to test. But if you haven't gotten after 3 months even one lead from a lead generation method, then it's probably not worth your time and effort. Real honestly, the exception to that may be content creation. Like for example, if you're trying to build a quality content site where you're building a blog and you're adding a lot of content and you're trying to make a name for yourself in some kind of a niche, then that might take a little bit longer. But for pretty much everything else, you want to make sure that, if I don't hear anything from anybody in a month and I'm posting consistently on a platform, then I start to think, this is this isn't going to work out, right? And it may be time to try something else. But just definitely do give it enough time. I always say 3 months, just because some of these platforms take a little bit of time to get a reputation, especially the social type of platforms. So, but for online classifieds, I would say maybe 2 months. Just you don't want to put yourself out there too much and be putting too much effort into a platform that may not be very popular in your local area. Just do your homework and you will be fine. So forums is another one. Leverage the forums that you already participate in. You may be in a forum for something else, maybe your industry, maybe related to your work, maybe it's a mommy forum, maybe whatever the case may be. You may be able to put a link to your sales funnel in your signature, right? In other places on the internet where you already have connections with people, where you're already having conversations with people, you may be able to add some kind of a link back to your sales funnel in your profile for those sites. So make sure that you do only join forums that you can legitimately contribute to. I think this is very important. Everybody hates a spammer, and it's just not going to benefit your business in any way to spam your links or to just be obnoxious online. It can only hurt you. It can't help you. So you don't want to do that. And then use your profile and your signature to draw leads, the one we just talked about. And then just really don't spam. Because I will even say to the point where I have seen it in forums where people will come in and spam, and people will report their links and get them blacklisted, and you won't be able to email, things like that. Like, it's just not a good idea. So, but in a place where you have something to contribute or where you're having a conversation, it's great to have your link there. Because if people like you and they think you're smart or funny or whatever it is, then they say, I wonder what he does for a living. I wonder what she's got going on. I want to know more about this person. And they can click on your link and they can go down your rabbit hole and see all your sales stuff. Guest writing. If you have any kind of talent for the written word, then this is a great way to use other people's real estate to your advantage, right? So last webinar, we talked about building a blog and building a website, but this is a way that you can get all the juice of, blog post writing, but not have to build the site, right? So if you approach somebody that's an expert in the industry and they have a blog, the secret is that most bloggers are overwhelmed with the amount of content that they have to produce, right? And so if you can produce a quality blog post for them, hey, then that's one less blog post they have to write, right, for their audience. So I always pitch several headlines first. So I'll approach somebody and say, hey, I'm really a huge fan of your blog and your work, and give them specific examples of what you like about what they've done. And say, I would love to be considered to write a guest post. I have a couple of ideas of things that might go well with your audience. Remember, you're pitching for their audience, not for you, right? And then you give them a couple of headlines and say, I'd like to write, I could write about this, or I could write about this, or I could write about this. What do you think? Would any of these be a good fit for you? And then make sure you know who you're pitching, which again is what I just said about being specific about what you appreciate about their site and why you think that you would be a good fit for this blog post. And then when you get accepted, which you can, which people can and do get accepted for guest posts all the time, make sure that blog post leads back to you. So make sure that you get a signature link, make sure that you get some kind of a profile link or something that credits back to you and your website or your sales funnel, whatever that you may have. So number 31 is webinars, just like this one. So live webinars help you to connect with your audience, while recorded webinars let you get the maximum return on your content creation investment. So for example, this webinar is going to be recorded, right? So this webinar is going to become a YouTube video. It can be shared on Facebook. It can be shared on lots of different places, right? So I'm going to get a lot of juice out of this webinar. But if you use a platform that allows you to do recorded webinars, you can put a video like this up, right? Like a recording of this up, and then just have it play, every hour on the hour, right? And so anytime that you want you have somebody new on your team, for example, let's take this webinar and say somebody new on your team comes and says, hey, I don't know where to find 2 people to share this with. And say, well, you have an experience in network marketing? No, I'm new. Oh, okay. You should go and watch this webinar. And then you can send them, and then this webinar will play because it's playing on the hour every hour, right? So that's great. And you can also, there's even webinar platforms that make recorded webinars feel like live, where they have like automated chat and different things. There's lots of really cool stuff out there that really lets you get the most bang for your buck for your content creation, right? Because if you're going to do a webinar, then you definitely want to record it and make sure that you get all the juice out of it. So you want to promote your webinars across the web to your email list if you have one, and then also on social media. Podcast is the same idea. It's so easy to set up a podcast, you guys. And if you have that radio voice, or if you have that gift of gab, then you can set up a podcast in just a couple of minutes. There's a lot of good apps for that. Check out a couple and see which one you like. You can interview other podcasters. This is a great thing to do, and get interviewed also on their show. So there's a lot of cross promotion. This also happens on YouTube, where you'll see people doing collaborations, or you can approach a popular podcaster and say, hey, I'm a huge fan of your work. These are things I love about your channel, and I would love to interview you for my audience. Would you let me do that? And people love that. People love to get that exposure. They also love to talk to their fans, and they love to be recognized for their work and for what they've done. And so people a lot of times will say yes, and then you get this big podcaster on your little podcast, and that can really help bring their audience over to you, right? And then you also want to make sure that you get your podcast listed in the net on all the podcast directories as well, right? There's a lot of podcast directories where for free, you can put in, hey, I have a podcast that that goes out every Thursday at such and such a time, and it's about cryptocurrency. It's about this or that. And then so you're listed, and so people can find your podcast and download it and subscribe to you. Be a reviewer. There's a lot of ways to do this. You can pick a medium that you enjoy, and then you can pick products that you know enough to have a value to paying about. So there are, for example, bloggers that only review network marketing opportunities. There are bloggers that only review, cell phones. Bloggers that only review, but it should be something that you know a lot about, right? So if you know a lot about something, if you're an expert on anything, then you can become a reviewer. Why is this awesome? Because if you give somebody a good review, then you can contact the product creators and say, hey, I just reviewed, your app, which I love. Please come and check out my review on my blog, right? And then they might give you a link back from their site, right? And so you just want to encourage a discussion. But this is a great way to get some traffic to your website if you're just reviewing other people's creations, right? And then again, you obviously want to tie it back to your funnel, just like everything else. Be charitable. So I think that charity is one of the great ways to network market, and it's a very old school idea. But if you pick a charity that you believe in and that you're really interested in being involved in, then it won't feel like work at all. And then openly support and endorse that charity, which means that may mean online, that may mean volunteering in person, that may mean getting on the local board of that charity. Make a donation or hold an event benefiting the charity. However you want to do it, anytime that you are charitable, it creates good PR for you, right? It bolsters trust. It lends legitimacy to your business. You look like the good guy or the good girl, and people respect that, and it gives you that awesome public image. And charities will also link back to you a lot of times. So for example, if you did hold a food drive, or if you did do something like that, maybe with your church, or maybe with in your neighborhood, or whatever you're doing, even if it's something that you were already doing anyways, right? But you can get links from charities from that. You can get shout outs. You can even get free press from the local newspapers, things like that. You just have to go out and look for that kind of coverage, and you can definitely get it. So free Google traffic, this is really easy to do. Just don't overthink it. Sometimes people get way down into the weeds with the SEO stuff, and there is diminishing returns for most people as far as how much traffic they can get from Google, as far as compared to how much effort they're going to put into search engine optimization. So just remember what Google wants. What Google wants is that you have the best answer to whatever question is being asked, right? So if my question is where's the best Chinese food in Dallas, right? And I have a blog post that just talks about every Chinese food restaurant in Dallas, right? And just classifies them and gives tips and like really good information about it, then I have a great answer to that question, right? I have an awesome answer to that question that somebody's asking Google. And Google will reward me by making me show up higher in the search results than somebody else that's just phoning it in and doesn't have all that great information, right? So Google's job is to give people the best answer to their question, whatever they're asking Google. So you want to have the best answer. So that means you want to be like Wikipedia. That means you want to give really the best information, and just very easy to understand and complete, and Google will reward you for that. And then also take the low-hanging fruit, which means it may be hard to rank for terms like, let's say, cryptocurrency, right? Um, but you could probably rank for something that's a little bit more obscure, something that's a little bit more specific. If you keep the questions that you're trying to answer specific, you're more likely to be able to get some traffic from Google for that. So let's see here. Gonna move forward. Okay, so paid Google traffic. This can be cheap, um, but you definitely need to do your homework if you're going to go through this. Yesterday we talked about Facebook ads. This is the same concept. Is that this can be a very lucrative, cheap, easy way to generate a lot of traffic. But you do have to do your homework on this one. This is not something you can just wing it. You will, it can get very expensive very quickly if you do not do your homework on it. So set a daily cap you can live with. I mean, if you put it at $10 a day, I mean, you might not miss $10 a day, right? Whatever you don't miss is what your daily cap needs to be. So that's the maximum amount that Google can spend on your behalf displaying your ads. And then you want to skip the display network to start, which means you want to do just display network is um, shows on apps and on websites and things like that. You probably just want to start off with the ads that show in the search results. Those are the easiest ads to start playing with. And then they're probably going to give you the best return to start off as a newbie. And then you just want to test and test and test, right? See what's working. And then again, don't just set it and forget it. So many times people set up an ad campaign, and then they just kind of forget that, and the money just keeps coming out of their accounts, and they just don't ever tweak it anymore. They don't ever check it and see how it's doing. They don't track their leads, things like that. And so that's why sometimes when have you ever guys Googled something and you'd be like, that's a weird ad to be there, right? On this search, that's a strange ad for this search, because somebody is asleep at the wheel. Somebody just said it and forget it, and they didn't tweak their campaign so that they could get, you know what I mean? Every time that you see an ad that shouldn't be on the search results, that's a kind of out of place, that's somebody flushing money down the toilet. They paid for that ad, and that ad, isn't going to make them any money because it's not supposed to be on that search. It's not a good fit. So that's why it's really important. This is one that you have to be very hands-on, but you can do it on the cheap, and it can be very, very good for lead generation as well, if you know what you're doing. So get free press. Oh, this one's great. If you're an expert on absolutely anything, and I do mean anything, I mean, if you, make the best tomato sauce in town, or whatever the case may be, whatever you know a lot about, you can register on helpareporter.com. Even if you're not an expert on anything in particular, sometimes, so basically this is how it works. So you get email notifications about reporters looking for expert sources, right? And then you can be that expert source. When reporters are writing articles or blog posts, or they're doing a news segment, they need to quote somebody. They need to reach out to somebody and have somebody as a source. So if you're an authority in your field, whatever that may be, then you can get leads from that, right? Because you'll get a credit for being the source. So this is a really great way to position yourself as an expert on things. And then you can also point back to think, oh, did you see me on the 9 o'clock news? I was talking about cryptocurrency. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, because your local news station might not have that many, cryptocurrency people in their local area. And guess what? You're the only one on the list. So you get that call, you get to go, you get those leads, which is great. And you don't have to necessarily be on camera or do things like that. It may be just quoted on a blog post, quoted in an article, but all of that is excellent exposure. And sometimes it's even things like, I've even gotten calls for things like, mother with 3 kids, right? I fit the bill because I'm a mother with 3 kids. Yeah, I got a call and I got to be in an article about it, right? And I got a credit, which is a link for me, which is great, more exposure for me, right? Just one more notch in my belt as far as like exposure for me online and in the press. So number 38 is crowdsource content. So this is an easy thing to do. If you ask for, let's say if you wanted to do a blog post, right? And you wanted to do a blog post about, what are your expectations for how much Bitcoin is going to be worth in the next 10 years, right? And then I go to every cryptocurrency blog post cryptocurrency blogger, all the big guys, and I say, hey, I love your blog. I want a quote from you about, I have this question. I'm trying to do this roundup blog post. What do you think the cryptocurrency is going to be worth? I just want to get you on the record for something. And a lot of times they'll cooperate with you. And so then you ask those experts, and you also tell them, hey, I will credit you, right? And you'll give them praise and links in exchange, right? So the praise comes in, hey, I'm a huge fan of your blog. I just would really love to ask you this question because I just really respect your opinion on it. You link back to them in the blog. Then you're going to compile the best responses and put that on your blog or your website or even on Facebook. And then you tie that into your funnel because that becomes very shareable content. That becomes really interesting content because you have a roundup of 20 experts talking about Bitcoin. Yeah, everybody wants to share that, right? Like that's a gold mine for information. So that's a great way. And you didn't actually write any content there, right? You notice that everybody else did the work and you just kind of put it all together and put it out there. So crowdsourcing content is a great way to get leads. Bigger and better freebies. You can give things away. For example, you can give away an ebook. You can give away, I think we talked about last time in content marketing, you can give away a recipe book. You can give away whatever you have to give away, whatever you can create. Sometimes it's just a list, right? It may be like a list like this one, which was originally 42 free or cheap ways to create and generate leads, right? It was this list. And so it became a resource, right? So I created the resource, then it gets shared, and then it all links back to me, right? It all links back to the company. So you create something that people can actually use and come back to. And yeah, the easiest way to do that is to create just a list of things, right? Even if that's just a list of, like we talked about earlier, the 12 best Chinese food restaurants in Dallas, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting traffic because hey, those Chinese food, other Chinese food restaurants, hey, we want to be listed too, right? So they're getting in touch with you, and then you have food critics checking it out, and so you have a lot of traffic to your blog from a lot of different sources. So those kinds of list posts and things like that, they're a resource that you're creating, but it's to get traffic to your sales funnel. So again, always want to link to your sales funnel. Before you team up, you can team up with other content creators. You can team up with other marketers. So we talked about this a little bit earlier for podcasts and for YouTube. This can also be done with blog posting, right? So like, let's say I have a blog and you have a blog, and we kind of have a little cross in our subject matter. So I contact you and say, hey, would you like to do a guest post for me? And I'll do one for you. What do you think? And then I send my audience to your blog, and you send your audience to my blog. And then guess what? We just doubled our traffic, right? So I mean, maybe not double, maybe the math wasn't right on that, but so yes, you want to make sure that you bring your audience and make sure that they bring their audience, but it can be a great way to cross promote each other. And then you can also do packaging, for example, like if you're offering, an ebook and maybe they're offering a video course, and hey, we put it together, we'll sell it for this much. You can do things like that. We work with other people and just work off of what both of you have, and then utilize your joint audience to get more lead generations and maybe sales. So encourage referrals. So if you have people, obviously with ABB, obviously everybody that you refer, you want them to refer. So you can tell them obviously to ask them to refer you, consider offering a incentive for referring you, and make it easy. Do it every step of the way and with every method and platform you use. So anybody that follows you, say, hey, do you have anybody else that wants to follow me? Do you know anybody else that might be interested in this? If you're offering a video course, say, hey, do you know anybody that might be interested in this? Or do you have a student? And you ask them, you send them an email, and you'll get 10% off your next purchase if you refer somebody. You can set up deals like that where you get people coming back to you and sending people to you. And that's just an easy way to get some more traffic. So 42 is be helpful. So take 5 minutes to do something nice for someone online. One of the ways that I used to generate a lot of leads was that I would be on somebody's website doing something, unrelated, and I would see something that was broken. It would be the contact form was broken, or there was a typo on the page, or whatever the case may be, right? And so I would stop and I would send them an email, and then I would say, hey, your contact form is broken. I just want to let you know. Hey, did you know that your hosting is expired on that other site? Did you notice that? Or whatever the case may be, you can let them know, and then they would say, oh, hey, great. And I say, oh yeah, by the way, I know a great web designer for that, right? And then I would upsell for them for web design, for the website. And so, but don't charge for every bit of help or advice that you give. Sometimes people come and they may ask you for something that you can't provide, right? So you're not expected to be able to provide everything that everybody in your network asks you for. It may be that somebody comes to you and say, hey, do you know a good plumber? And yeah, you refer your plumber friend. So then next week he refers, the guy that's asking about cryptocurrency, he refers that guy to you because you referred him. So you want to always be as helpful as you can be within reason. Help people that are bigger and people that are smaller, and you can get a lot of traction from this, and you really grow your network, and people will owe you favors, which is great. So be a mentor and get a mentor. So I believe in mentorship. When you're looking for a mentor, so for example, if you're new to network marketing, who should be your mentor? You want to find the most awesome network marketer that you really admire, somebody that is where you want to be, and then you want to approach that person, and you need to know how to get a yes. And then there's some tricks to this, and one of them is to read everything that you can that this person has published, whether that be on Facebook, wherever you found them. Just kind of stalk them online for a little bit, not in a creepy way, but just find out everything that you can about what they're doing and how they're doing it, anything that they've ever published, all their content and all that stuff. Just kind of dig through it and learn everything that you can that way. And then, only then, you can approach them and say, hey, I'm a huge fan, and I have this question, right? And you give them one easy question, something that you can't just Google, right? Something that obviously is a thoughtful question that you really would value their opinion on. And just say, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I loved what you did. Your Twitter campaign tips on this blog really changed my whole game for me. Like, it was a game changer for me. And I wanted to know what you thought about, engagement on Instagram and this and this and this, or whatever the question may be, right? And if you ask them a thoughtful question, then they will usually come back because they love to talk shop. People that are good at what they do are passionate about what they do, and they will respond to your passion with mutual passion most times. And so you don't need to go to them and say, hey, will you be my mentor? Because that kind of freaks people out, right? Because it sounds like, oh, wow, time commitment, right? Like, oh gosh, am I going to have to hang out with this person every day for the next year if I say yes to this? You don't have to say that. You can just open a dialogue with that person, and they can mentor you without putting all that pressure on them that they have to be your official mentor and wear the hat and do all those things. And that's the easy way to get a mentor without actually going through the whole uncomfortable conversation about it. Also, if you're an expert on things, finding people to mentor and helping people out that are on the same path to get where you are is huge, because those people will become your advocates and your champions, and they will go out and spread the word about how awesome you are and how amazing you are. And they will help you generate leads in that way. So both ways generate leads. If your mentor, if they are a good mentor, they're going to open doors for you. They're going to put you in contact with people, because they're going to want to see you successful, right? And the same way works if you're the mentor in the situation. Your apprentices, the people under you, are going to want to champion you and connect you with people as well. So it's just a really, really awesome way to help somebody out and also generate some leads. So go back to the well. The most qualified leads you have are the people that already bought something from you, already have worked with you in another opportunity, already know you, already have some kind of relationship with you. So you want to show them ongoing attention and appreciation and follow up with them. This is about maintaining your network, right? We talked about that in the contact management system, right? So this is about why you have, those little notes about, oh, so-and-so is gluten intolerant, or so-and-so has a birthday in July, or so-and-so's wife was pregnant, or whatever the case may be. Having those notes, keeping things up to date, sending a holiday card or an email, or just checking up on somebody. If you see somebody, in your Facebook, hey, something cool happened in their life, it's just saying, hey, wait, congratulations on that. I saw that your son won that tournament, and that was awesome, whatever the case may be. And your sales funnel should not end, which means if you have somebody that is willing to work with you in your team, for example, at Auto BTC Builder, then it's not just a one sale. It's not just, oh, you're in my team now, I'm just going to drop you on your head and leave you alone. No, you want to create a long-lasting relationship with that person, right? Because that person, the statistics say that it's something like 70% more cost effective to keep an existing customer or an existing lead than it is to find a new one. So it's so much easier to just keep your network well-oiled and maintained than it is to try to rebuild all the time, because you don't take care of people once they're in your network. So that's my tip there. Recycle, remarket. Oh, this is where you can take, for example, I can take this webinar and I could turn it into a blog post, like a list, right? And I could also turn it into, maybe take a quote out of this webinar and put it on a nice image background. I could share that on Instagram. So you can find ways to take old content, spin it in a new way to a new audience with a new medium or on a new platform, and that can become new content, right? So you get more bang for your buck again for your content creation. Reverse engineer it. So ask yourself too, how did you get recruited, right? How did you get into Auto BTC Builder? What was the key where you said yes, right? What was important to you? What sealed the deal? Can you recreate that? Can you massively multiply that? Is that scalable? And then another way to think about reverse engineering is to stalk successful marketers. And we talked about this earlier as well. To just find people that are doing wonderful things that you admire, and then just kind of following them around online and just seeing how they're doing it, how they talk to their followers, and what's working for them and what might not be working as well. Promote your downline and clients. So this is very important because a lot of times what I see is I see people and they have their sponsor or the team leader, they have them on a pedestal, right? And they're talking to even their prospects about how amazing their sponsor is, right? Oh man, my sponsor's the top guy in the company. Or my sponsor, she has a huge team, or she's been in the business for 30 years or whatever the case. And then, but what they don't realize that they're doing, they're using it as a way to try to promote the opportunity. But really what they're doing is they're promoting their sponsor, right? They're promoting above their own head. And so if I have a choice to join that guy or the guy that they're talking about, then I'm going to join the guy they're talking about, And so you're promoting the wrong person. You should be promoting your own brand. Not that it's bad to be a huge fan of your sponsor. You should be, but you want to make sure that you promote your brand and your product above all, and also promote your downlines. Help your downlines out, because their success is going to push you up. As you know, when they cycle, they help you to cycle. So know the difference between teamwork and working for your upline. This is very important, and this is something that sometimes team leaders don't agree with me talking about, but this is absolutely true. Which is also the reason why I don't think that people should get moved. Sometimes people go and they come and they say, I'm mad at my sponsor and I want to get moved to somebody else. So your sponsor doesn't help you cycle, right? Worry about your downline, right? Your sponsor is irrelevant at the end of the day. The most important person is the person in the mirror. And after that, the most important people are the people that are below you, your team, the people that that you've referred. Those are the most important people. Everything above you is just irrelevant after you get in. So just a quick tip there. And I think that is going to wrap it up for us, you guys. I hope that you guys did enjoy the second part. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'm gonna stop the recording and then we'll do some Q&A.